Oh yeah. You see all these little bumps here? That's not hail damage, that's like the dimples on a golf ball. Makes it more aerodynamic so you can go faster. Speed dense. Serious question, is your scope worth more than your car? Alrighty, let's have a look at the old PM2. Very nice. So simply branded box, cardboard, not a whole bunch of flashy nonsense on it. Seems to be the case when you buy the really high-end sort of military level gear. Doesn't really come with any frills, it just comes with exactly what you asked for. So on the end of the box here we can see we've got 5 to 25 by 56 PM2 LP P4FL. So obviously the 5 to 25 is the zoom range, 56mm is the objective lens, PM means police and military, 2 Mark II, LP is, I'm not really sure what the German word for it is, but that translates to illuminated reticle, and the P4FL is the first focal plane P4 reticle. So let's crack her open and have a gaze. So it looks like with the version I've got, we've got some bubble wrap. The proper military version ones tend to, the ones that I've seen anyway, have come in just corrugated cardboard, which is kind of hilarious when you've got something that's this expensive. But I guess the whole point of it is that you can't really break it very easily, so it doesn't really need to be wrapped in anything super special. But look at that. Ooh, 0.1 MRAD clicks. Very nice. 26 MOA turret, gorgeous. In these little windows here, they turn yellow once you get onto your second turn because you've got 2 full turns of elevation. Check this out. See that there? Clickety, clickety, clickety. First turn, second turn. Sick. And those clicks, ooh, that's like changing gears on a really well-made car. Delightful. Makes me happy on a very deep level. Something that makes me profoundly unhappy though is Butler Creek flip-up scope caps. That is just very, very disappointing. I really wish they wouldn't do that. They should have something like a Tenebrex scope cover. Anything that is not wobbly, dodgy, ugly plastic for something of this level. I don't know what they were thinking when they put those scope caps on there. Must have just been something to get them out of the shop and get rid of them, because they are genuinely horrible. I do not like them one bit. The scope caps on my little $700 Optizan scope are just 100 times better than this. They're made out of aluminium and they flip up and they sort of sit closer to flat and they feel better and they look better. And this is just, that's nasty. That's nasty. So not only do you have to spend the money to get the scope, you have to spend the money to upgrade the covers as well. Unless you're into Butler Creek. If that's your jam, that's your jam. I'm not going to argue with you, but these definitely will not be staying on this scope. Gross. Yucky. Alright, so this one isn't the same as what you might see on with all of the military ones, because it doesn't have zero stop, as far as I'm aware. It does stop when you get all the way to the bottom of the elevation, but it doesn't have the zero stop function, and it doesn't have the locking turrets. As you can see, the turret doesn't come up or go down. It just spins around. So I'm fine with that. I don't need a zero stop. It's pretty obvious when you're at zero because the turret indicator is black and your zero is lined up. So it's, you know, it's sort of a feature that I don't really want to spend the extra $1,000 to go and get. So one of the wonderful things, one of the main reasons why I chose this scope is, as you can see there, parallax all the way down to 10 meters. I looked at a fair few of the competitors, and they only either go down to 50 or 75, which is probably the real main reason why I'm not using that one, because that's an awesome scope. It's definitely not on the same level as this one, but it only goes down to 50 meters, which is a problem for what I want to do. I want a scope that can do everything, so this is where we've ended up. Let's do a quick size comparison. We'll compare the size of the Burris to the Schmidt Bender. Pop that open. Ooh. Good looking scope too, by the way. Even the Burris caps are better than those bloody Butler Creek nonsense. See, look, it's the same thing. Gross. Yucky. Not happy. Alright. So, as far as a size comparison goes, that's the two there. They're both a 34mm tube, but as you can see, the Schmidt Bender is considerably longer. That's not an extended sunshade. That's just the whole, the scope on its own. So the extra sunshade is going to be another 50mm on the end of it, like that. So if you pop your sunshade on the Burris, ooh, a little tricky to do this when I'm looking through my camera to make sure I'm in frame. I'll pop you on like that. There we go. So the Schmidt Bender is gigantic. It's roughly the same size as the Burris with the sunshade on. So big heavy scope, but built like a tank. Very excited to get it on one of my rifles. It's going to be going on my Impact for the most part, but being that it is what it is, it's I'm probably going to get a one-piece mount, and then I'll be able to use it on my center fires as well. So because it's got so much elevation range, I'll be able to just chuck it on whatever I'm using at the time, and always have really nice glass. And it's a very repeatable setup too, so it's it sort of makes it a bit easier. Generally you're going to be, if you have a good quality one-piece mount, you can pop it off a rifle and pop it back on your other one, as long as you've got good notes and you've recorded your point of aim shift. It only takes a couple of minutes to set it all up, and she's good to go on the next scope. So that's that. Let's mount it up, and we'll do a comparison. I've got a fairly wide array of scopes in my safe at the moment, so I'm going to use my little eaglevision scope cam setup. This is the side shot scope cam setup, but today I'm just going to go directly down the scope. So this is an interesting little thing for those of you who are using eaglevision side shot scope cams. This is the prism, so you can mount your camera off to the side, but if you buy the setup in the way that I got, you can actually just go straight down the barrel too if you want. So you just pop that on there like so, and then bolt your camera up to it, and it just goes straight down the scope. So you don't have to use that if you don't want to, because that's a 50-50 prism in that one. So it only transmits half the light to the camera and half the light to the shooter. So we're going to go 100% to the camera just by going straight down the barrel. So this universal mount will fit on pretty much all of my scopes. So happy with that. We'll run them side by side when the sun comes up, and I'm going to put them next to a 4-power Gamo, a 3 to 9 by 40 loopholed tactical, which is a nice little scope. I'll put it next to my Optizan 6 to 24 by 50, and then the Burris, and then the obviously we'll have the Schmidt Bender running side by side, so you can see the difference of how a super high-end scope stacks up, at least clarity-wise, against a wide range of different scopes from different price ranges. So should be interesting to see how they go side by side. That looks really nice. Makes you want to go and bring some democracy to a country with lots of oil. Alrighty then, so here is a selection of scopes for us to peruse. I've left the Burris in the shed, but I'll bring it out later on because it's a scope on its own. But This is the Game-O 4x fixed power. A good option if you're looking for a real basic scope. It's only about 40 bucks. Perfectly paired there with my Benjamin Nitro Piston 22 brake barrel air gun. So it's good to pair a cheap scope with a cheap gun, I think, especially like that. There would be no point in putting something like the Schmidt Bender on a rifle as inconsistent as the Benjamin. It just wouldn't really make any sense at all. But moving right along, here we have the Leupold 3-9x40. This is their from their AR range. It's an MRAD scope, 1-inch tube, and it has the Fire.dot TMR reticle in it. It is parallax corrected from 50 meters onwards, but 50 meters inwards, you're on your own. So not ideal for something like the FX Crown, which you see above it. It's an awesome scope. It's nice and clear, and the clicks feel good. It's nice and consistent, but yeah, with that 1-inch tube, there's a minimal elevation range, and with the parallax being what it is, it's sort of better suited to a nice little center fire like this. So this is a Mossberg MVP 223, 5.56 millimeter. Great little gun, laser beam accurate, and I've had the barrel cut down to 18 inches. So it's a nice one. It's good little scrub gun, that one. And then next up, we've got the venerable FX Crown, which I'm sure you've seen in many of my other videos, with the Optizan optics 6-24x50 on it. Good scope for the money, but definitely a remarkable step down in terms of glass clarity to the Schmidt Bender over there. Hey Poo Dog, what do you think? Yeah? You like the Schmidt Bender better? Hey? No sniffing. But yeah, so we'll run them side by side, and then I'll grab the Burris and run that next to this one as well. But yeah, the man of the moment. Look at that. Delightful. Wonderful. Let's get to it. Well, couldn't quite get the eye relief straight down the barrel, so I've had to use my my 50-50 prism, but it's not the end of the world. They'll all be using that prism, I guess. So yeah, it'll be a fair comparison, but just a bit unfortunate that I can't quite get the length to go straight down the barrel. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. I suppose that's the price you pay for having plenty of eye relief. So this is what it looks like. A little bit funny looking, but it'll get the job done for us today. And way down there, see on that stump, a little glittering sparkle, that is my water bottle. So that's about 112 point something meters away. I just zapped it with my rangefinder just then. So yeah, that'll be our subject matter for today. So we'll compare our scope images side by side to that. Alrighty, so after much faffing about, I had to change spots and put my drink bottle on a different stump. Getting too many lens flares on that angle with the sun being where it is, but all three of these different ones have been taken on the same camera with the same settings, and that is the best that I could do with the focus. I would shoot the reticle up to the sky with the parallax set to minimum, so the background would be completely out of focus. Turn the autofocus on the camera on, and it would focus on the reticle and bring the reticle into focus, and then I would plop my rifle down and have the parallax wheel spun until all of the focus peaking red dots on the little Sony camera popped up on the water bottle that I was trying to focus on, and this is how that all came out. So as you can see on the left, the glaring difference, we're talking about the Optizan with its 699 Aussie dollar price tag. It's obviously nowhere near as good as the other two. And then you move across to the XTR2 at 15x. These are all at 15x, by the way. You can see that the quality is much better. And the step up again from the XTR2 to the Schmidt Bender isn't as big as it is when you jump from the Optizan to the Burris. there's sort of a diminishing returns the higher you go with like super high-end scopes, but this is pretty much because when I buy scopes, I buy them for a specific purpose. So that XTR2, I purposefully didn't get the super high-powered XTR2 because I knew it wouldn't be as nice as this XTR2. Like it doesn't, like when you go all the way up to 25 times zoom or 20 times zoom on cheaper glass, it just doesn't look as good, and I didn't really need that extra magnification for the purpose of that particular optic, so I just went with the slightly cheaper, slightly simpler, less magnification range, and therefore slightly better picture. The 25 times zoom version of the XTR2 is also very nice, but it's not as nice as the Schmidt Bender is at full power. So let's doodle over and have a look at the Schmidt Bender versus the Optizan. So this is the difference between a scope that costs $3,300 on the left and a scope that costs $700 on the right. So big difference in clarity, big difference in everything really. This is like, seriously, that was the best that I could do with the Optizan. You might look at it and say, oh, you didn't focus it properly, or you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I seriously, I've done this like 3 times. I've come off the scope and come back and put it on the computer and been like, wow, that can't be right. And then I go back and I check it and I do the best I can, and it still looks like that. Like that's what you're getting. So you can see a few little rainbows coming off the light flares in the bottom of the water bottle there, and you just don't get that with the Schmidt Bender. There's no chromatic aberration, there's no blurriness, there's no sort of milkiness in the glass. Yeah, so you can get a real good idea of the clarity difference between expensive glass like super high-end glass and entry-level glass. That's not to say that the Optizan isn't a good scope, because bear in mind that this is only this is coming through my prism, right? So it's 50% of the light that is coming through is going to the camera, and 50% is going to the shooter's eye. So this it's not 100% accurate representation of what it actually looks like to look through the scope, but to compare them next to each other, it's an effective way of looking at 2 scopes under the same conditions. So I still like the Optizan. I still think it's a great buy for the price level, but when you put it next to something like the Schmidt Bender, it falls way behind, and it should fall way behind because it's way cheaper, like much cheaper. There's probably thousands more people who will enjoy Optizans than will enjoy Schmidt Benders just because of that price tag. So something to think about there, but yeah, very glaring differences between the super high-end optics and the entry-level optics, and cast your mind back to the Burris for a mid-level optic that does almost everything and almost as well as the Schmidt Bender for half the price. So yeah, high, medium and low. Alright, so I did my best to give each scope a fair old shot to get a reasonable quality picture. Found out that my little eaglevision scope cam thingy had a bit of moisture in it, so that was a bit of an issue that took up half my day trying to figure out how to get it out. But you can get it out, so that's good to know. But yeah, a little bit annoying, so took a bit longer than I wanted to, and as you can see, the light's kind of fading a little bit. But the Schmidt Bender is like in a complete league of its own. It's just much brighter and much clearer and much more lovely to look through than the lower costing scopes. So I am generally pretty happy with something like the Burris level of optic. That's sort of around the $1,500 to $1,800 mark. Nice clear glass. You get a good simple scope like that one. It's built tough. Glass is nice and clear, very accurate, tracking turrets and everything. Usually that's sort of where I'm happy to stop, but when you're going all out buying a scope, it's nice to actually try out something that's super high end. and I'm very happy with the Schmidt Bender. I can see myself using it on pretty much all of my guns. I'm probably going to sell a couple of those other scopes and just get good quality one-piece mounts and start running much higher quality glass on pretty much everything. It's very good. So if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe to see more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.